world of stem cells and stem cell exosomes, which I'll define for you in a minute, and peptides. These are all ways of signaling our cells back
Mhm.
to a more youthful, restorative state so we can preserve the length and longevity and the health of our cells so we live longer. That's the longevity hack.
Welcome to the Self Care Goddess podcast, where healing stories, practical self care strategies, and science backed tools to regulate stress, feel calm, grounded, and energized come together to help you reclaim your vitality. I'm your host, Rita Savoya, holistic nutritionist, trauma informed breathwork coach, and founder of Breathwork Barista. This podcast is for women who are ready to restore their energy and radiance, reconnect with their bodies, reawaken their inner power, and redefine self care as a way of being. Through science meets soul practices, restorative mind body tools, and real stories of transformation, we'll explore how true well being can help you live with more joy, vibrant health, and authentic connection to yourself and those you love. Take a deep breath in, let it go, and let's begin. Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Self Care Goddess podcast with today's theme, a paradigm shift on the road to longevity. One of my favorite topics, longevity. How do we get there? How do we live nice and healthy in our later years? So, before we get into our amazing guests today, let's walk the talk here on the Self Care Goddess podcast and let's give ourselves 2, 3 minutes of just tuning out what is going on around us, what we did before this, what we're going to do after, and just be present. How do we do that? Just follow our breath. The breath keeps us in the present moment. If you feel comfortable and you're able to, maybe even lowering your gaze, looking at a fixed point, or even closing your eyes to really tune out the outer world and go within. And just allowing a couple of breaths to flow into your body, preferably through the nose, and then maybe let's exhale a little longer, a little deeper than usual through the mouth with a sigh, feeling the expansions of the inhales and letting it go, releasing with those exhales. Couple more minutes here, in through the nose and side out through the mouth with a sigh, gentle sigh. I invite you now to allow these inhales and exhales to flow into the area of the heart. So, energizing this beautiful organ that's keeping you alive, in and out. And in this space of immense gratitude for your heart, I now invite you to visualize someone that you're grateful for today. Visualize as if they were right here in front of you. And let's send them some love, some gratitude, and appreciation for being in your life. And now I invite you to do the same for yourself. Send that love, gratitude, and appreciation, send it back to your heart for being here, taking that time out for yourself, for not giving up, for prioritizing your self care and self love. On the next inhale, flutter your eyes open and come back to us. Thank you for participating in that quick coherence technique from the Heart Math Institute. My little twist on it, but it just gets us into coherence. And when we are into coherence, our mind, our heart, and our bodies, and we are more receptive, we're more open to this incredible information that I'm about to share with you and our special guest here today. So today's guest is someone who is redefining what it means to heal by looking beyond surgery and into the body's natural capacity for recovery, longevity, and performance. Dr. Jeff Gross is a board certified neurological surgeon specializing in spine and athletic injuries with decades of experience in both traditional and regenerative medicine. Through his work and his company, Re-Celebrate, he focuses on helping individuals optimize their health, extend longevity, and explore healing approaches that prioritize the body's innate ability to repair, using surgery as a last resort. With a background in biochemistry, molecular cell biology, and advanced spinal biomechanics, Dr. Jeff brings a unique perspective that bridges science, innovation, and a more integrative approach to health. And beyond the operating room, there's a fun and unexpected side to him. He was actually a Yell leader in college. He enjoys dark chocolate, the darker the better. And if his life had a soundtrack right now, it would be Proud to be an American. Dr. Jeff, welcome to the Self Care Goddess podcast. How are you today?
Thank you so much. And you were one of the few people who asked those sort of personal questions. And wow, I don't think I've ever said these things on a podcast before. So send me all your dark chocolate, everyone, please.
How dark are we talking about? Like 100%
No,
pure?
it's gotta have a little. It's got to be enjoyable a little bit. So get me close to 90, and I think would be maybe a little more would be okay.
Okay, amazing. Yes, I love that. And it's full of minerals too, dark chocolate. So as long as it's a clean
Yeah,
source, it's
it's
not
got
too
health
toxic.
benefits. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Love that. So, what a background for sure. And even the trajectory that you're on today. I love it. Definitely aligned. I just love the guests that come on. I often say, give the body the right resources, those foundational resources, and it will support its innate intelligence to self heal. Right. So, give us a little more background on your personal journey. What has sort of
Yeah.
yeah, what's that the trajectory that you're on today? What was that pivotal moment for you?
You said that so well. I want to make sure everyone heard that, but we can heal ourselves. We can self heal. And I wish I had what I do now and how I approach things now. I wish I had that, paradigm shift earlier in my career. It would have been a lot easier to help so many people in different and easier ways, we should say. But as you said, most of my background is this neurological surgeon. I'm a spine expert, even though I did some brain and nerve work. I took care of neck and back problems. I still do somewhat, but and my tools were non-surgical treatments and surgical treatments. And unfortunately, the menu is limited, and it always occurred to me it's limited. There are only so many things you can do. And over time, my patients would say, I've still got issues. I've tried everything. I've tried the injections. I've tried the therapies. My back hurts, or I have nerve pain. My neck hurts. And I said, well, the next thing on the menu to talk about is surgery. And they would stop me right there. Oh, no, I'm not that bad. I'd say, okay, great, great. Because I didn't want to have to offer you surgery. I was just very non surgical as a surgeon. And I said, but then we have to find ways to live with it. I said, is there nothing else? What about this? What about that? What about stem cells? And I heard that stem cell thing over and over. And I was stuck in a rut. And that rut is doing the same thing that I was trained to do by people trained decades earlier, by people trained by people decades earlier to do the same thing. Spine surgery has not changed in decades. Yeah, there's a new widget, a smaller incision. It's the same thing we're doing. We're either making more room and or locking bones together that weren't meant to be locked together, And there's a role for that still. But I think it's overused because there's nothing in the menu that fits that gap. So chance favors the prepared mind, and my background in college was molecular biology, biochemistry, which is the field of stem cells. So one year I said, I'm tired of going to these neurosurgery conferences to get my continuing education hours where I don't learn anything really new. And I talked to the same knuckleheads over and over again. So I went to a stem cell conference one year. I just up and did it. It was about 8 years ago, and it reset my world, and hopefully the world of those around me with new options. I went to get a new tool. I went to add a tool to my toolbox. Now it's almost everything we do and apply it. The people that come to see me are here for stem cells. They're here for stem cell exosomes, which we can get into. They're here for peptides, which are huge. They're here to signal their cells to go back to that self-healing mode
Mm.
to help avoid the need for surgeries. And the approach to care and the root cause analysis is very different. So now I don't even do any surgeries, really. I'm doing so many other things. That's
Wow.
the journey.
Wow, that is so incredible. I love that. That's okay. Let's get into because we kind of sort of said offline, we're gonna go a little more sciencey and technical, and I'm all for it. So I'm good. So can we just what's the difference between peptides, stem cells, and now these are making a huge everywhere, even in skincare, the exosomes. So
Yeah.
how can you differentiate or what is your definition of these three?
So, we have cells in our body, right? Everybody knows that. We're made up of these smaller building blocks called cells. And those cells change with time. And they change, they accumulate junk. This is inflammatory particles, proteins, gunk. They rust biologically, they accumulate oxidative stress, right? We've heard of that. And that's how we age. If they didn't have any of that gunk accumulating, or you could remove the gunk, your cells could age slower. And we have tests for that now, biological age tests. And that's why you look at two 80-year-olds, and one 80-year-old needs to go in the nursing home, and one is youthful and playing tennis and looks great and has mentally sharp. One of those people is aged faster than the other one at the cellular level. So let's get into stem cells and see what we could do about that and why it is. So stem cells were first related to how a baby is made. Okay. So if you are take you backwards, goddess Savoya, we'll take you backwards. We'll take you back when you were a single cell in your mother's womb. Okay. You were the first fertilized egg cell there. You are the omnipotent stem cell. You can create a human, right? You have that capacity. And then you develop into a fetus, and the fetus then has what we call pluripotent stem cells. Each cell then can't create its own new human, but it can create an organ or a limb. It's still amazingly powerful. Okay. And then right before you're born and when you're born, most of your stem cells, from which all your other cells stem, hence the name, those are called multipotent stem cells. And when you're born and you're growing and developing and becoming an adult, and then later, even as an adult, you may need something to help replace tissue, to heal you, because we do replace cells all the time.
Huh.
Those come from your bank of multipotent stem cells. As again, back to that age thing, as we age and accumulate this chronic inflammatory change, and some of it can be from what we ate and we shouldn't have, what was in our environment, bad thoughts,
Huh.
psychological trauma, stress, you know, other types of preservatives in the food that we're now looking at and saying, why do we have these, right? Things like that. So a lot of our chronic cellular age problems are because this is self-inflicted as a society. You look at the blue zones where people live to be more than 100, they don't have a lot of things. They have fresh organic fruit. They have social connections. They have a lot of walking and exercise. And we know that all reduces stress. So when we turn to the world of stem cells and stem cell exosomes, which I'll define for you in a minute, and peptides, these are all ways of signaling our cells back to a more youthful, restorative state so we can preserve the length and longevity and the health of our cells so we live longer. That's the longevity hack, because your cells have the same genes. We're not changing your cells. We're influencing the call upon those younger genes and clear out the inflammatory gunk. And when they do that, they work more optimally like when you were young.
And so this is such incredible news in terms of not just for longevity, like, looking younger and staying younger and being able to do things, but also for people that have chronic, just thinking osteoarthritis or arthritis or these debilitating illnesses. And to be able to offer this is incredible. So, and sorry, in peptides?
Yes. So I didn't describe all the types of cell signaling, but so the field we talk about here is regenerative medicine. And why? Because we're tapping back into the ability to help you regenerate yourself. The medicine, or the biologic, we call these biologics, that really doesn't do the regeneration. It stimulates your own cells to do it.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
first had stem cells. So we could get stem cells from safe sources. Your own body is one, your bone marrow, maybe your fat. There are other sources. But frankly, when I take my car to get the oil change, I don't put the old oil back in it. So I love the donated, ethically sourced, donated, tested perinatal source. So this is a mother who has a baby by C-section. Congratulations, it's a healthy baby. Instead of throwing away the amniotic fluid and the umbilical cord and the placenta, they donate it. It's a true donation. And these are screen mothers where we get these products. They cannot have had the COVID vaccine, and they are tested and screened for every possible virus, and they go through FDA registered labs here in the US. So we can obtain these biologics and use them for people. Now, we know if you came to my clinic in Las Vegas, where I'm broadcasting from today, you said, "Hey, I want to get younger. Hook me up to IV of stem cells." Those cells will be out of your body in a day or two. They'd be gone, but they will have imparted by signaling your cells to kick into that youthful gear. Your cells do the work. And they do that by delivering the message at the cellular level through two ways. Way one is by small proteins we call peptides, and we'll come back to that because it's a huge topic right now. And the other is by these small vesicles. Now, I say the word small. It's funny because cells are already small. People think, oh, those are the smallest thing around. No, there are smaller things. So cells give off communications to their neighbors. All cells do. And that communication is through these peptides, which are small proteins, and through these little bubbles called vesicles, extracellular vesicles. So they bloop out this vesicle, and thousands of them. And that vesicle has a little bit of the cell membrane it takes with it, and it's got cargo. And that cargo is other peptides, microRNAs, and messages that go to a neighbor cell that takes it in at high delivery, influencing what genes are called upon in that cell. So let's think about this for a minute. If you get an infection, let's say you get someone, touches you and you get an infection in your cell, some bacteria, that infected cell is going to send messages to the neighbors saying, I'm under attack, protect yourselves. It's like a neighborhood watch, right? Or if the cell is super healthy and happy, it's going to send out a happy message. So what's the best restorative message? Well, it comes from stem cells. So we take the stem cells, from there, we take the exosomes or the peptides, or we can get the peptides now separately that we've identified them, because it's all about knowledge now. I mean, we've always known these things are healthy. Now we know more about how they do it, so we can use that information in the field of regenerative medicine for longevity, for osteoarthritis, and other things, as you said, we can help address.
Mhm.
So we now have these extracellular vesicles, these exosomes, we call them. And when we talk about exosomes, we're usually talking about those from stem cells in a therapeutic sense. Yes, there are other sources of exosomes in our world. Let's talk about them briefly, since you're letting me do all the
Yeah.
talk. It's it's you've heard of the health benefits from bone marrow and from
Mhm.
bone broth. Why? That bone marrow has lots of stem cells and they deliver healthy exosomes. Or why does mom and grandma make you chicken soup when you're sick? Because the chicken soup comes from chicken stock and bones, has marrow, has stem cells, has exosomes. You're getting exosomes. How about colostrum? We've heard about the health benefits from colostrum in mother's milk.
Mhm.
Very rich in exosomes. And plants deliver their phytonutrients through plant exosomes. So a lot of the cosmetic uh, um, products out there now that have exosomes, usually plant-derived exosomes, right? There are a couple human products on the market, and we're actually working on one too. So that is the basis of healthy, regenerative, rejuvenating cell signaling, peptides and exosomes. Now you're all experts.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Okay, that has been explained to me so many times, and now it's finally landing. So thank you, Jeff. That was amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Fantastic.
really
I'm
so.
happy to
Okay,
do it.
so I know oxidative stress, chronic inflammation. Can you just talk a little bit more about the psychological, so the mindset, and what's happening like chemically, there biochemically to the cells?
Well, we know that an anxious, stressed, depressed brain, it has a different profile of neurotransmitters than a healthy, happy brain and mind. And a lot of psychological trauma locks in a lot of those, we'll call them out of balance neurotransmitters. And a lot of the drugs you see out there used for that today are supposed to help just fix the symptom, which is the neurotransmitter, not fix the cause. But what happens in the trauma is these anxiety and neurotransmitter out of balance issues cause you to make more chronic inflammatory genes because the cells are in a defense mode. And we want them in a peacetime mode. And to do that, we need to flip them back. And that can be done through self-care. It can be done through,
Breath work.
psychological therapy, breath work. Of course, breathing is an amazing way to reset your parasympathetic nervous system and rebalance your neurotransmitters. Now, you'd have to do a lot of breath work if you have significant chronic psychological trauma, right? And there are so many ways now without pharmaceuticals to try and get your balance back on. Like, people are doing these hallucinogenic trips to open up those pathways and clear out the trauma at the cellular level. And we're seeing that. So we
Like
know this biochemically works. We also have peptides that help with that. And even some of the stem cell signaling through exosomes can help with that. But you have to do all the work. You have to be doing your exercise and your breathing and your restorative sleep, which is hard to do when you're anxious, right? These things all work against each other.
That's so true. They're not really supporting each other. Sorry, hallucinogenic? Is that what
Yeah,
you
I mean, a lot of people have now, and this is a little far afield from what I do personally, but I refer people out for like they call this microdosing, the
the
psilocybin, the
psychedelic.
mushrooms.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Did I miss say hallucinogenic? I mean, it
No.
is a hallucinogen. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not at all, but I was like, "Wow, a neurological surgeon is saying hallucinogenic and he's advocating it. I love it." Yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
because I have a lot of guests on my podcast talking about psychedelics and
Yeah. I
how
mean,
there's a
it's
psychedelics renaissance, and I
if
like
that
I do.
works for you and it's way better than chronic, big pharmaceutical,
Yes.
because the pharmaceuticals are just addressing the symptom, not the root cause.
I 100% agree, which takes me to the next question. You mentioned that the stem cells, the mother, about she should not have taken the COVID vaccine. Why is that?
Because it's a variable we can't control. We don't know enough. And what we're learning in the last few years is there appear to be problems from people who have had the vaccine. We're seeing increased rates of inflammatory problems, increased rates of cancer, autoimmune problems. The immune system is messed up. Luckily, some of those problems we're able to help through different means, but it's just easier if we don't have to deal with that variable
Of
when we're
course, and you can
we're giving
control.
someone
Yeah.
biologics. Yeah.
Right, you can control for it. Okay, very interesting. So, in terms of who is, if anyone's listening or watching, is there like an ideal candidate for this that it for sure it'll work, or
Well
it works for everyone? How does that work?
well, I mean, listen, theoretically, it can help flip your cells into restorative state. It depends on the person and how we approach it. So we have elderly people who come in because an IV of the stem cell exosomes gives them a boost of energy, cognitive improvement. They sleep better. Now, these are typical responses. We're not yet authorized to make any claims. We've not been authorized to do so. So I want to make sure this is for educational purposes. But each patient is an individual and should have right to all the different options. So, for example, my mother's 82. She comes in every 6 months and gets an IV for a kick in the pants, a youthful kick in the pants, and she loves that. She has energy. She's independent. I have young, healthy people. We call them biohackers. They want to just do preventative means early, and they come in maybe periodically and do an IV. They don't always feel that pop in energy that I feel when I have one, or the
Mm.
reduced aches and pains and things like that. But we've seen them have improved heart rate variability. For those of you out there that wear some health tracker device like an Apple
Or a
Watch,
ring.
a
Mhm.
Aura Ring, a Whoop Band, a Garmin, it tracks that sensitive health metric HRV, and they've seen significant boosts in their HRV. So we know this is helping at the cellular level. We've also done biological age tests. So it's a way of measuring what your blood looks like in certain measures compared to someone else's blood of a certain age, healthy age. If you're 60 years on the calendar, if you're 60 years old like me, but your biological age test shows you're 48, then you're doing some stuff right. You can keep working that down. So we've seen improvement in those tests as well.
Well, you
So
look
we
great. And
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
what
I
is
appreciate
your
that.
age? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 60. So this is what 60 looks like if you do all these things, I guess.
Amazing. And your sorry, the biological age and your chronicle age. Yeah, yeah. So what's the have you done the test?
Not recently. No, I need to do that.
Oh,
But
okay. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I want to do it myself as well. Incredible. I love it. I love it. I love it. So in terms of how often would you recommend to someone? And it probably, I know the answer is depends on the
Of course
case.
it depends. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
it just depends the dose and the amount we use and how often. So it depends on your biological age, your true age. It depends on how much inflammation you've accumulated. If you've lived hard and drank a lot, smoked and stuff, and you're just trying to, I better get in shape. I want to live a little longer. I have grandkids or something. So we might give you a little more, and then we give it and we see what it does and how long it lasts, and we might suggest you repeat it when it wears off so we can figure out a cadence for you that makes sense. So some people do it every few months. I do it every 3 months, but I have it right here in my office, so it's easy. My nurse just hooks me up. And I'm doing it more on a preventative basis to stay looking less than 60 if I can and feeling less than 60. That's my goal. But everyone's different. And of course it costs something. So we have to be conscious of that as well.
Right, right.
And it's part of a longevity plan. It's not the only thing. We look before we do this, we look at your life. We look at your exercise, your sleep, your mental peace. We look at your diet, your supplementation. We look at your hormones. Because if you don't have the right optimized hormones, that begets inflammation. So before you do this, we want to get you dialed in so you get the most out of it. And then for focal issues, like that's just IV. For focal issues, like I came from the spine, right? So I do a lot of joint and spine injections for helping people fight osteoarthritis and avoid joint
The
replacement
suture.
surgery. So that's probably a big chunk of my practice still. And we have incredible results. And there is scientific
Wow.
medical journal articles out of Europe that started 20 years ago. Like we are just behind the times here in the States. We're just applying those successful that medical evidence from other places. We're applying it here and hopefully enhancing it, improving on it. So, and
Mhm.
then for people with neurological issues, we might do a nasal spray of the exosomes because it gets great brain delivery. It's easy to do, right? They get better through the nasal spray sometimes than the IV.
Mhm.
And we do different specific things depending on the issue. As cosmetic applications, some sexual health applications, and then of course we might pair that with some peptides. Peptides are huge now and getting huger.
Mhm. Yeah, this sounds so positive in terms of the options that people have, right? They don't, because I actually have been having some knee issues because I've been always an athlete or always using my body athletic, and the surgeon was like, "Yeah, you're probably going to need a knee replacement down the road." But I'm like, "No, I want to, I haven't had any surgeries. I want to stay
Yeah,
intact," right? And I'm like, "I just wish I had a lazy person's
yeah.
knees right now, somebody on the couch, give
No,
me your
no,
knee."
you don't. You don't. You need to stay active because your muscle mass and your bone density are your longevity organs are correlated with
Exactly, yeah.
longevity. You're my ideal patient in that sense. So someone who goes to the orthopedic doctor, like, well, when you're ready, we'll do the replacement because that's next on their list. A few of them have started to adopt this regenerative approach first, and they might do something called PRP, which is a very low end regenerative approach.
Right, yes.
And now we have, we'll say, more potent approaches. And what we do for joints is usually a one and done. And our results
Wow,
are matching the European results. So they showed that at their 15-year follow-up with a single procedure, over 82% of the patients were still doing well enough to avoid that surgery that had been recommended to them 15 years earlier. So we have options and tools, but you're not going to get it at a typical regular sick care system, institutional, insurance driven doctor's office.
Yeah, speaking my language, very much aligned 100% because obviously there's a profit there, right? So I'm very, very impressed that you're not pushing the surgery and it's more regenerative. It's funny because my surgeon didn't push any surgery, but he was a bit skeptical about the PRP because I brought that to his attention. So tell me a little bit about the stem cells because where I live in Canada and I was looking for this for my mom. And I was looking at Mexico because I knew that in Canada and the US. So, what's the approval now? The FDA has approved these
All right, so
treatments?
let's break down some things because there's a great disinformation on purpose, and we should fix that and dispel all myths. So first, as I mentioned earlier, these things are not yet approved for marketing claims. I'll circle back to regulatory on that in a second. So when you hear about these clinics in Mexico and Central America, they've been around a while. They can advertise. They can say whatever they want. We cure this, we cure that. They're not
Mhm.
under the auspices of the FDA or the Canadian equivalent. In the US, the FDA was set up by Congress to protect consumers from false marketing claims. They
Mhm.
regulate marketing claims. Please let me say that one more time, marketing claims. So people throw around this phrase FDA approved.
Mhm.
They never finish the phrase. FDA approved for marketing claims. The FDA does not approve treatments. It does not approve medical care. It does not approve what doctors do or what patients receive. And if you ever look at an FDA warning letter or anything out there, it's for marketing claims, something they put on their website, something they said. So that's why here I want to be clear that we are not allowed to say that we are curing or treating a disease or condition. Parenthetically, I've done surgery a lot of my career. I've never been able to guarantee the result. I've never been able to say I'm curing or treating. So, Goddess Rita, you came into the hospital with dehydration. Let's say you ran a marathon, you're dehydrated, you have to go to the ER. What do you think they're going to do for you?
They're gonna give me some electrolytes to
Yeah,
hydrate
they're
me.
going to give you IV fluids and electrolytes, right?
Right.
Not not FDA approved. How about this? You get a lab test that shows you're low on vitamin D. What are you going to do?
Mhm. Supplement vitamin D.
Not vitamin D, not FDA approved. Right. So the oddity here is it's a joke. The FDA and the government loves to have extra the guise of extra control. They don't have auspices over medical care or treatment. So it's my job within the Hippocratic Oath to do the best for patients and relieve suffering with the least, you know, least pain points, the least trauma, the least endeavors and invasiveness. So I have a right and a duty to make all options known to the patient. That's called informed consent. The doctrine of informed consent calls for that. So if you go to your doctor and they say stem cells are not an option, they're actually violating the doctrine of informed consent. And maybe I missed something. Maybe I should talk about crystals and other things, that I don't do. But we want all options to be known. That's our job, to educate patients with all options. We do not make any claims that we're curing or treating anything, whether it's biologics or something else. So we do not make those claims. Therefore, we are fully compliant with the FDA. And most people don't get that because, oh, it's not FDA approved. Well, nothing really is. And if it is approved, it's approved for marketing claims.
Right.
So there's a lot of disinformation out there, and it should be known that these are available. These treatments are available. If it sounds too good to be true, then you're probably in the wrong place. It should be realistic. No one should be making claims. By the way, the FDA hasn't unapproved or disapproved peptides or stem cells. What it is they have not yet evaluated, and they get to decide which medical evidence they want to choose from. So we have incredible medical evidence on stem cells, exosomes, peptides. They just have chose to not look at it. So,
Interesting.
so
Yes.
is that a service or a disservice to the average consumer or the thoughtful consumer? I don't know, and I'll let you be the judge, but we remain compliant and any patients can come to America and have these treatments as long as they receive that Hippocratically sound, informed consent process, and no claims have been made. And we're clear about that, as I was here today with passion.
Yes, exactly. And thank you for clarifying that and making those distinctions for sure. So tell us a little bit about Europe. You said that this has been going on in Europe for years and they have all the
Yeah.
studies. So how does
Yeah.
that differ? Their FDA equivalent is approving this or maybe not
I
making
I
some.
don't know how their regulatory body works, but the particular processes we follow when I do, like, the joint injections is from a study at University of Paris East and, from well-known orthopedics, so it's possibly it went under their how they do studies and inform and, they have the,
Hmm.
institutional review for those things, um, so those studies exist, that medical evidence exists. I
And how
don't
far
know
back?
if
How many years have they been doing this in
they
Europe?
published their 15-year follow-up in 2021. That means they started this in 2006. I think, yeah, they've been math 2006. So, this isn't new in any form.
Hmm. And it's working. And there's
We would not
proof,
be doing it if it did not have the
efficacy.
option to help people, did not have medical evidence showing it helps people, and was better than rushing into the next step in America, which is surgery that drives money for health insurers and hospitals and people who make knee implants and all that. So wouldn't it be great if we had a procedure, a single injection, there was no downtime, there was no pain and there's no recovery, there's no physical therapy, there's no the narcotic medications. We love that these are much less invasive.
No collateral damage, no side effects. Sign me up, doctor. Sign me up
We may
for
have
this,
to.
for sure. Yeah, no, for sure. So you talked a little bit about those key cellular drivers like the inflammation, the oxidative stress. What other things do you see in your practice that are accelerating that aging process?
Sedentarism, not exercising, meaning, not using your muscles hard. Your muscles are your longevity organ. It costs you nothing to go use them hard. You can stand up from your desk and do 20 body weight, slow, good booty squeezing squats every hour. And that's better than a 20-minute walk. So use your
Mm,
muscles. Eat clean, don't eat after dark, respect your circadian rhythms. There's so many things you can do that don't require any money
yeah.
to foster your longevity. Sleep in a restorative way, have a ritual, do your breath work, go to sleep in a cold room, pull the covers up, snuggle up,
Mhm.
and dark, cold room. Turn off the screens earlier to turn your brain off because in this world we don't go to bed when it gets dark. We stay up late and we extend that, so we're inflaming more of the day. We're not getting that restorative repair at night. The cells aren't
Yeah.
repairing like they used to. So there are many ways. We're learning a lot about the modern conveniences and how they're killing us.
Yeah, that's true. I always say go back to, especially my background's in nutrition, go back to how our ancestors used to eat. That ancestral diet is so powerful, especially that's why a lot of people go back to where they're actually from. They feel so
Yeah.
much better and
Yeah.
they're eating the foods of the land, right? So much. So my dream, Jeff, is to go into a grocery store and not see the organic food sign. Like everything should be organic.
Yeah. Everything
Like
can be.
like it used to be, so I just hope that we can go back to that because
Yeah.
foods, yeah, they could play a huge role in inflammation. And so do you believe in supplementation?
I do because even an organic, healthy diet, what's grown from the soil and what's there now isn't the same quality soil that it was. Or over farming and the soil is fertilized, so it's artificially natural, right? So, for example, meat doesn't have the omega-3, because the grains are very different that the free range animals are eating. So, um, it's different. So yeah, we do need supplementation. The big ones would be vitamin D all day long, omega-3 all day long. Respect your gut microbiome. That could call for you to need fermented foods, probiotics, things like that. We're learning more and more about that all the time. And phytonutrients. We are not getting phytonutrients. This is why we push to develop this plant exosome nutraceutical to deliver the phytonutrients. So we have that now, and that has been really good. It's a longevity supplement.
Yeah, love that. So, do you recommend a certain diet, like vegetarian, pescatarian, or not?
I no, because everyone's a little different. We do have vegan and vegetarian patients, and they really struggle to get enough protein. It's very hard. You got to work really hard, eat a lot of lentils and beans and stuff, So it's okay. I'm not gonna tell you to eat meat, but meat's a great source of protein, but good, high quality, free range, stress free, happy cows, happy chickens, happy eggs, all that. Um, we're very big on protein supplementation. You've got to maintain your muscles. To maintain your muscles, you have to have protein. It's the building block. If you're not growing spiritually, muscly, cellularly, you're shriveling up and aging. So you need to stay anabolic. That doesn't mean bodybuilder anabolic. It means growth. Growth has to outpace decline because as you age, you lose muscle mass, you lose hormones, you lose peptides. So you need to stay ahead of that. It takes a strategy. It takes intervention.
Yeah.
And we can get as granular and fancy as you have an appetite for. Some people don't have much appetite, and they can do a lot through their diet and their supplementation.
What is your recommendation for protein for women and men?
We usually just a generic. We shoot for um, a a gram of protein for every pound of lean body weight, ideal
Yeah.
lean body weight. So,
Yeah.
you know, a woman needs 100 to 120 grams a day, depending on her size, and a man needs like 150 to 200 grams, depending on their size. And of course, we adapt that and make it precise for the individual, but generically speaking, that's hard to do.
I know. That's why I supplement with protein shakes. I'm
Yeah.
pescatarian, so
Okay.
I love all vegetables, but I eat dairy and fish. I just
Yeah.
don't eat meat.
Yep, and
Um,
most of the protein shakes, I buy them already made up in little cans, and they're whey-based, uh, dairy-based, right? Whey is a protein from dairy. So,
mhm.
I'll drink those throughout the day just as a supplement, because I only have so many meals. I intermittent fast only because it 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 comes easy.
Convenient.
It gets convenient for me, yeah, because I don't like to eat early, right? So,
Same.
my first meal is usually some lunch, and so, but then I'll have protein throughout the afternoon, and then I try to close out with dinner early. So I'm pretty good at 16 to 18 hours of not eating. I
Yeah.
might have a black coffee in the morning. I might throw in some creatine, which isn't exactly intermittent fasting because that is a protein and it does stoke your metabolism, but I'm a big fan of creatine as part of my protein. I'll probably do 15 to 20 grams of creatine a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And you're obviously working out as well.
Obviously, thank you for noticing. But yes, I work out, and you can always work out more. So I walk twice a day. I do Pilates. I lift. I need to lift more though. It's the heavy resistance stuff. When we do a workout, we're doing one set to failure instead of 3 sets of 10. So it doesn't take long. It's the
Yeah.
failure is where the muscles release those cry for help survival peptides and myokines and exokines that stimulate the brain to help reduce Alzheimer's and to stimulate
Wow.
growth and anabolic features of the body that suppress inflammation, suppress inflammaging.
Yes, I love that. So can you define what that means? Is stressing or weightlifting to that what
Yeah.
did you call it? Maximum?
We do one set to failure. So
One set to fail.
we will let's say you want to do bicep curls. You're lifting the dumbbells instead of stopping at 10. Say I'll rest a minute and do 10 more. You keep going until you absolutely can't lift it, and then you don't stop. And that you hold it, and you just try so hard until you absolutely fall apart. Then you're done with the exercise for the day. You can do another muscle, but that's your biceps for the day. Like that's it. One set to failure. It's at that failure point. This is called hormesis, Rita. Have you heard of hormesis? So, hormesis means a slight stress on the body. I know that doesn't sound slightly stressful, but it's not hurting you. A slight stress on the body's cells to build adaptability and resilience. Examples of hormesis would be that high intensity exercise we just talked about, fasting. And I'm talking about 1, 2, 3 day fasts, hot sauna, And we're
Mhm.
talking about hot, not infrared, but actual sauna, 180 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes, 5 days a week, cold plunge,
Mhm.
and low oxygen thing. Like those things stress the body so it can build its survivability. And if you're surviving better, you're living longer.
Nice. And that's a beautiful segue into my next question about breathing and how that ties into the longevity equation and hypoxia. So, that low oxygen, can you tell us a little more about that? How does that contribute? I guess the hormesis, right? That good stress.
Yeah, I mean, for example, look at the long distance runners. They train at high altitude where there's less oxygen, so they can enhance not only their red blood cells, because you get more red blood cells, but their ability to function under that lower oxygen amount. Then they go do a marathon at sea level, and it's like easy for them, or they can hit a new personal record. So they're building that resilience
Mm.
in that way. Now, if you're doing breath work, you're usually not hypoxic or low oxygen. You're really getting oxygen to your system, which is great because you need to do that. Also, we live on that. That's how we thrive. But building that adaptability at times enhances your ability to deliver oxygen when you need to. So there's that another form of yin and yang, right? The balance of things that makes our biological system so interesting.
Yes, super, super. When I was in nutrition school learning all of this, I'm like, wow, how incredible all of these intricacies that come together to help us thrive. What are your thoughts? What's your opinion on alcohol?
Uh, Alcohol, listen, being social is a big part of relaxation and connection and blue zones and neurological stress. So a little bit is okay, some healthy wine if it has no preservatives or some healthy beer, it's a fermented food. But uh, so I want people to live life and enjoy themselves. Too much is damaging. So um, you got to find what works for you, the right happy balance. So a glass of wine here or there, not the whole bottle, please. And you notice you don't sleep well if you drink too much. Your HRV will go down. You don't want that. You'll notice it. You'll learn quickly if you track your HRV.
So true, so true. So I'm definitely cutting back as well. I just don't enjoy it as much, especially the aftermath. Just definitely not. I don't recover as well as I used to. And but the Aperol spritzes in the summer, I'm just those I'm still
See? You just had
love.
that. I just saw it in your face. You had a little gratitude. I love that. I mean, you have to have that as well. And I should say, we really skirted on peptides. We're using some peptides for longevity. One of the peptides we use for longevity is a GLP peptide, like a retatrutide, and a low dose. And it actually takes away your desire to have much alcohol. Yeah. So you have a little half that you'll nurse that Aperol spritzer all night.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, that's beautiful. And it works well for the wallet too, right?
It helps well, you're just transitioning that money over into your retatrutide budget, your
Yeah,
peptide
that's true.
budget, yeah.
Exactly. Yes, why not? For sure. Yeah, this is really, really good. So in terms of if somebody is listening and they're very interested in this and they're doing their research now, what are things that we should watch out for? Other clinics that are offering these services? What maybe are some red flags that they're
Yeah,
probably not doing the right thing?
if it sounds too good to be true, that's probably something that would put up my spidey senses, my rabbit ears. If they will not tell you where they get their biologics. That sounds fishy to me. I will tell anybody where we acquire our exosomes from, the process of the lab. Each dose comes with 4 pages of viral testing. We show them to the patient. We put it in the patient's file. Um, if there's no informed consent process where they go over all the options, if they make claims, remember when you can't make any claims that we're curing or treating a disease or condition. Those are things that would make me sound like it's a sale and not a health care, service. And I would say, if they don't help you optimize your body first,
I was just
with
gonna get to that. Yeah,
diet
that's
and
more of a
exercise and sleep and
holistic.
hormones. "Oh, yeah, come on in, let's shoot you up." That means they're not treating the patient, they're just selling you a package or something, so, those are the things that would cause me to take pause and always seek another opinion, please.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, what was the most surprising given the experience that you've had with these injections in terms of what they've been able to help someone with? What was your most
Well,
surprise?
we followed the French protocol and added some tweaks to it. And the French protocol was based on X-rays. We were actually doing MRIs, and after we've done this for a while, a few patients were curious and said, "Oh, can I get an MRI? I feel good. I want to see what it looks like." So, sure. So we've done a couple before and after MRIs, and we actually have shown that you can regrow your cartilage in your knee. So that was surprising. My other surprise, if you allow me to, is I have a gentleman with very advanced Parkinson's. He comes in shuffling, no facial expression, has lost that. And he's on a lot of meds. And we do a nasal spray of the exosomes. And in front of us, within minutes, he changes. It reduces the inflammation in the brain, and he has a more open stride. He moves more freely, and he smiles, and he's joking. He can jump up and down. So we watch him, and that lasts about 2 months for him. He has to come back and do it again. So those are some dramatic, surprising things, and that's why I'm just re-inspired in my practice. My medical practice is a reboot. So, people my age are thinking about retiring. I'm just starting over. This is incredible. So I go around, I speak on this. I'm guests like on your show and other shows, and we do a lot of
Hmm.
education, working on and we do a lot of writing. We have tons of blogs and information because we need to share this. That's why I'm on your show. We need to share this with people and let them know there are options that are more advanced than the knee replacement from the 1970s.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yes, for sure. So, when it comes to this, you mentioned biohacking and people are biohacking their health. And this is part of the biohack, I'm assuming, right? This is part of what they
It
do
can
for
be. It can
longevity.
also just be something you do for aging, slow aging. It can be something you do for your health or you're addressing a particular issue. So biohacking is usually more of a preventative thing that people start, and the more they do and the earlier they start, they're fostering their longevity. A lot of the biohackers are longevity seekers. So
Yes.
biohacking means just to use this information to strategize outside of the sick care system, mostly
Hmm.
in a preventative, healthy way to support yourselves.
Right. Are you familiar with Dave Asprey?
Yes, we are involved. I've spoken at his events,
Oh,
and in
nice.
fact, we're just gearing up for next month to speak at his big event in Austin, which we do every
Oh,
year.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the biohacking one. Nice, nice. But he's kinda looking weird. I don't know, like, I think it's a little too many stem cells. It doesn't even look like him.
I I
Could you
Dave
overdo
tries
it?
everything. He's a very interesting, forward-thinking gentleman. If you want to be a biohacker, you can pick and choose how much biohacking you're willing to do, right? You could get granular. You could wear EMF blockers and wear blue blocker lenses all day, and you can turn off your Wi-Fi at night. I mean, there's a lot you can do. Dave does a lot of things. You can also just do some things that are easy for you, or start small, towards making a longevity. Like, what's your longevity plan? What do you do for longevity, ma'am or sir? What's your plan? Most people don't have a plan. They just going through life, right? If
Yeah,
you've got children and grandchildren, you want to be around for them, enjoy that in a healthy way, not in a nursing home, but a healthy longevity, a health span. You got to have a plan. You got to carry out some actions. Could be just a few interventions. It could be big, depending on your appetite.
yeah, and budget, of course, and
Yep.
time, and
Yep.
everything that you can invest in. So if someone wants to support their longevity and their health, I mean, you kinda touched on this too, but what are your sort of favorite practices? Let's
Yeah.
bring them down to 3.
Exercise, use your muscles and exercise. That's the first non-negotiable. Um, second, probably restorative sleep. Do whatever you can to to learn about your sleep and get, the right restorative sleep. And that could, in part, be how many hours you sleep, but also how deep you sleep during those hours. And then third, I'd say, really look at your diet, supplementation, your nutrition. Those things are easy, and we should have been doing it our entire lives. We learned about them in grade school. Our grandmothers taught us about them, but we've lost sight of it. A lot of us have lost sight. You haven't, obviously. You're goddess Rita. You haven't lost sight of that, but many people have. Then you can add, mental peace and breath work and getting rid of your mental and psychological demons. And then we could level up if you're interested in hormesis, hormone optimization, peptides, and then even stem cell exosomes, depending on your particular needs.
Yeah, because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that signaling will actually work better, for lack of a better word, if
Yes,
you have those foundations
correct.
laid, right?
Correct. Because if
So
you're inflamed for one reason and we put one source of anti-inflammatory activity, it's going to flip back into inflammation quickly. So if we're
yeah.
doing many sources of anti-inflammatory pathway influence, then we're really, really driving cell signaling in an anti-inflammatory longevity way. And
Mm.
some of this is epigenetic, right? How our behaviors affect what genes are transcribed. So you're tapping into your genes all the time. Do it right.
Yeah, exactly. It's there available for us. So the number one, not complaint, but maybe setback that I hear from my clients or objection, let's say, is they don't have time. And now you and I, we both have 24 hours, right? The same 24 hours as everybody else.
Yeah.
Any tips on how you
Yeah.
get all of this stuff in, all of the
Yeah.
practices you mentioned that you do for yourself? What works for you?
Start small and keep it simple.
Mm.
Because if you don't invest the time, you'll actually lose time at the end of your life, right? You're short in your life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
invest a little time, or as my favorite neurosurgery professor, Ed Benzel, would say, if you can't get the job done in the allotted time, increase the allotted time. So make more time for it. Cut out something else, or do it while I love to watch TV at night. Okay, exercise while you watch TV. There, it didn't take any extra time.
Yeah.
We're just taking advantage of that segment.
Yes, I love that, the habit stacking, right? Doing something on top of something that you're already doing so that it doesn't feel like an extra thing on your to-do list, but definitely prioritizing for sure. So, in terms of where do you see the future of this? What are your thoughts, or what are some things that are really emerging that are getting you excited?
Well,
What else are you going to be able to do?
we scratched the surface today on exosomes and stem cells and peptides, but really that's where it's going. More specific types of exosomes with different cargo, more different types of stem cell called muse cells are now becoming available, which have even more potency. The expansion in the peptide realm, everyone knows about GLPs, but man, there are so many more we are using now for musculoskeletal health, for body composition, metabolic issues, sexual health, longevity, etc. Like this is here to stay.
Wow.
Excuse
So
me.
exciting. I'm just super excited to try some of these. Really great timing, Jeff. Really great timing because I'm actually going to see my doctor, checking my ankle. I'm having some issues there because, again, I like to play my sports and stay active. So, really amazing timing for me to look into these. As I mentioned, I looked into it for my mom a few years ago in Mexico. So now I have an opportunity to come and meet you in person. That'd be amazing. So,
Absolutely.
very,
Most of our patients are remote and don't live local to us. We start remotely, like this through a video. We get, what do you need? Labs? Do you need imaging? What do you need? We need to do these other steps first. We do all that remotely. We only invite people here to Las Vegas if we think we can help them, and there is an opportunity for that. So,
okay,
and it's Las
amazing.
Vegas.
And so,
Who doesn't mind a little trip, see a show, have a nice dinner while you're here, and have a
yeah.
treatment. Yeah.
Definitely. I've never been, actually. I've never been to Vegas, believe it or not. So close to Canada, but never been. So, what is the best advice, Jeff, that you've ever been given that still holds true today?
Don't take no for an answer. So if one doctor says no, no, you have to have a knee replacement, get
Mm,
another opinion.
nice. I love it. And what's some a common advice that you tend to give people, clients, when it comes to longevity? Is there one?
Yeah, yeah, you can do longevity if you have a plan, and it can be free. You can, like I said, you could do tweak your exercise plan. It doesn't have to take all day to exercise. You can do a great workout in 20 minutes, muscle workout. You can have the real thick stretchy bands at home and get a really good resistance workout. You need to do it. You got to do it. You got to build it into your day. And if you don't, your longevity is hurting.
Mhm. How old do you wanna live until? Do you have a plan?
I don't know. I know that Dave Asprey wants to be 180. You
Yeah,
know,
he's moved it up now. I'm 130.
yeah. Well, you're 130. I don't know. I mean, I always thought shot for 100,
100 for sure.
but I think you have to ask me at each new decade how I'm
Okay.
feeling. So at 60, I feel great, and I don't feel terribly limited. I do have an old back injury I deal with that keeps me from standing for long periods of time. But other than that, I can run, not as fast as I used to. I exercise. I can chase the grandkids around. I can do a lot of those things. So I'm happy with that. I don't have otherwise, except for the back, too many areas that ail me.
Mm,
So, and I stay ahead of it. I'm always looking for new things to do. So I'm experimenting on myself before I offer it to anyone else. But I don't know that I necessarily have a numeric goal.
mhm.
But that doesn't mean I'm going to give up and say, oh, I'm at 100, I'm done. If I'm feeling good at 100, we'll keep going.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. So talk to me a little bit about the spinal, the stem cells have not been able to help regenerate. Is that because it's an old injury? Does that matter?
Oh, stem cells can't do everything. So, I have some disc issues from a hit by a SUV while I was jogging, actually, a number of years
Oh,
ago, and um,
that's more
it
structural, I
it's
guess.
more structural in there. Not everything, yeah. So we don't have a solution for that yet, besides surgery. And I'm like my patients. I'm not bad enough for surgery, but I also can't. I learn how, not to stand for long periods of time. I'm no fun at a cocktail party. I have to go sit down. Other than that, we're good.
I love that. So, you talked a little bit about like what you do, but what are your top 3 non-negotiable self-care habits?
I definitely need to sleep. Someone once showed me a meme. It says, "If you love someone, let them sleep." So sleep is number one for me. Number two these days would be exercise. Got to do it. Have to do it. And three is probably protein consumption. I think that's an easy thing that's missed. It's hard to do. Like, my wife complains about it. She's like, "Oh, gotta get more protein. I'm so full. I don't want any more." So, we do the protein drinks, multiple ones a day. Luckily, the ones we get are 30 grams. So,
Nice.
that's
Yeah.
great, right? Then you have protein at 2 or 3 meals, maybe another protein drink, and you can reach your goals.
Hmm. There's this meme going around where you can add Greek yogurt to your scrambled eggs and just increases the amount of protein too. So those little hacks, as we
Oh,
mentioned
that's a good
before.
one. I haven't seen that. Send that to me,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I will for sure. So what is your legacy, Jeff? What do you want to be known for?
I want people to have been helped by me uh, without having to have surgery and without having to do some old-fashioned, medical service because medicine hasn't or institutionalized health sick care driven insurance-based medicine hasn't allowed what is known to be entered into that system. So, we have plenty of money in the medical system. It's just sucked out by the insurers. Right. It doesn't go to the delivery of medicine, of delivery of healthcare. So, and that's
Health.
why our life expectancy tables have leveled off
Mm,
in part. I think fixing the food source and getting all the crap out of the preservatives and stuff would be great. That would help too.
yeah, and do you have hope with
Yeah.
Robert
Yeah. Yeah. I
Kennedy
do.
Jr.?
I
Mhm.
do. I think that, he's said a lot of great things, but he needs
Mm,
to drive the bureaucrats underneath him to actually walk the
mm.
walk. He talks the talk. We need the entire organization to walk the walk. They're not, and I know this because I have friends that have stem cell clinics that get these crazy letters and things, and um, he has said we're trying not to do that, but the people under him are still following. I don't know, prior administrations
Yes.
directives.
Yeah.
So there's a bureaucratic mess that we need to just fix.
And the letters are like to close down, like threatening
There are
letters?
usually, marketing warning letters, FDA marketing. That was just an
Ah,
example, but so
yeah.
they may say one thing at the top, but it has to trickle down into the actual,
Yes.
manifestations and applications of that department. So
Mm,
government, especially here in the US, is very slow, very bureaucratic. I mean, maybe you
mm.
have that in Canada too, I don't know.
Yes, very, yes. But this is why we're having conversations like these, and people can open and educate themselves, right, to these different types of preventative or even just other ways to take care of your health and live a
Yeah.
beautiful long life. So yeah,
Yes.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm hopeful, excited. I think this is great. And I'm really excited about the future as well. So
Good.
where can people connect with you if they want to explore this a little more or just stay in
Yes,
touch with you?
so our brand, Rita, is called Recelebrate because you're celebrating the renewal of your cells. And that's what you're doing with longevity. So Recelllebrate. And we made up that word, so we kind of quartered it on the internet. So recelebrate.com is our web address. Our socials are at Recelebrate. We're on almost every social platform you can imagine. So check us out, follow us, give us a hoot and a holler, and we will, if there's something we can do, you have questions, you want to talk, I love to meet new people, we're happy to engage.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Now I have that song in my head. Celebrate good times. Come on.
Come on. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I
Gotta have
love
that.
that.
Everyone needs a
Yes.
little cool in the gang, yeah.
Totally, totally. So thank you so much, Dr. Jeff. You've been amazing, super, super enlightening, very, very lots of insights. Now I definitely know the difference between those three and some really good tips, very practical and very foundational and easy and simple. And then, of course, there's the option of looking into the stem cells even further with you and just staying in touch with you. So I'm just delighted that our paths have crossed, that you have dedicated a little bit of time for me and my community here. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, it's been my absolute pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to the Self Care Goddess podcast. If today's episode inspired you, share it with another woman who's ready to reclaim her vitality and lead from within. To continue your journey, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with me on ritasavoya.com. Until next time, remember self care isn't selfish, it's your superpower. Take a deep breath in, exhale, and keep rising. Ciao for now.